Today on Locked On Red Wings, Detroit responds to back-to-back losses with a big 5-0 shutout in Calgary.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I'm a podcast producer for the Daily J, a WWJ News Radio podcast. Well, Scotty's host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. And guys, it was a heck of a game on Saturday against the Calgary Flames. 5-0 shutout was a much needed response by the Detroit Red Wings. So we're going to talk about that. In segment one here, we're going to give you our difference makers. Segment two, notable performances. Probably some bleed over, honestly, because some of those notable performances could be the difference makers as well. It's all about what you guys pick from the bottom of your heart. And then segment three, just cleaning it up and previewing the Seattle Kraken. But first, got to tell you guys that today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Scotty, happy Monday. It's gonna
be Monday, man.
It's gonna be a short-lived episode. Wings playing at 3:30, so this thing's gonna be expired fast. So get your listens in while you can.
Those ones are always, they don't happen too often in hockey, but they happen quite often in the baseball world. And those are always, you're just like, what the heck, man? Like, this is gonna be relevant for like 8 hours. Like, what the heck are we even doing? But yeah, I'm happy to talk about a win though. Any excuse I can to talk about a 5-0 victory. I don't care how long it's relevant for. We're gonna enjoy it.
And that's the biggest reason why we are doing this episode as the Monday episode, and then the Seattle episode is its own separate one, despite it being in the middle of the day because they're on the West Coast, matinee game on President's Day, blah, 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 blah. But just because it was such a good game, we want to give it its due before getting back into the Seattle preview, which we'll then obviously recap. I'll probably just post it after we record it, honestly. So it'll be a Tuesday episode that comes out like in early evening on Monday, just because why not? Let people have their early reactions. But first, Scotty, we got to get into the game. When it comes to the Calgary Flames, 5-0 shutout. James Reimer shutout at that. Who was your biggest difference maker?
Yeah, well, you're not going to bury the lead here and not too much of a. I know that I kind of stole the slam dunk option with that, but yeah, I think Reimer's a pretty easy choice for this one. Obviously, with a shutout and just from a team perspective, you know, Lions ascension has been a huge part of this team's success, and finding any consistency in net has been a huge what?
I'm looking at his save percentage on the season now.
Yeah.
It was sub 900. After that win, it's 904. It's above league average after that win.
Well, Bob's your uncle, baby. Look at that. But yeah, man, they've just been really desperate to find consistent goaltending. They found it in Lyon, and Lyon, you just want to get him off his skates every once in a while. And now that Husso is hurt, you're going to have to lean on Reimer a little bit more. So didn't he have a shutty in his Wings debut or close to as well?
Against the Devils. It was like 16 shots against. It was the best performance Red Wings have had all season.
Right. So just having, some sort of confidence. I'm not saying that this one game should change everyone's outlook completely on James Reimer, but having some sort of confidence that, okay, we're not just throwing out somebody who is just like guaranteed going to get his teeth kicked in and this is like a guaranteed loss like we have with certain goaltenders over the last few years, right? Like that is something that we have experienced. You're like, all right, well, this is probably not going to be a win. And not that Reimer is going to single-handedly win you too many games, although you could argue, again, he was probably the one of, if not the biggest difference maker in this one for sure. Just outside of this game, looking forward, I guess, is more the perspective that I'm trying to shine on it. And just, I think it does a world for confidence on the team, knowing that Lyon doesn't have to be in net to get a win just in general, but B, a really strong goalie performance as well.
Yeah. I want to correct myself. That shutout he had was against the Blue Jackets, 4-0, not the Devils. Just want to correct myself on that one. But no, I completely agree. I mean, this does wonders, like you said, to the confidence of the team. This team desperately needs a goalie they can go to when they have to give have to give Lyon a break, because they will have to give Lyon a break. And he looked rough the last two, so he needed a break. And Reimer came in. You were hoping Husso would be healthy. He would be that 1B option, but he got hurt again. It's supposedly a different lower body injury. But luckily, Reimer was able to pick up the slack. He looked great in this game, and hopefully it's a sign of things to come, because that's just his, 5th win on the season in 15 games started. I mean, and it's his first game since January 23rd against the Stars. So
and before that, it had been like a month.
Yeah. So it's a big deal that he played so well. And I thought that, and we'll talk about this probably in segment 2, but I thought the team in front of him played really well too. I know the shot attempts heavily will suggest otherwise, but if you look at where those shot attempts come from, most of those were low danger shot attempts. So we'll talk about that in segment 2, but I want to get to my difference maker. And for me, my difference maker is actually Derek Lalonde. And I say that because after 2 suboptimal performances, again, tough teams, 2 of the best in the league, out west, the team just looked flat. In the first game, first 40 minutes, offense was there, defense was there, was not there all game. Second game against Vancouver, defensively, much better. Offensively, nothing. So in this game, Derek Lalonde was not afraid to mix it up. The starting lineup had Dylan Larkin with Patrick Kane and Michael Rasmussen. And then the second line had JT Compher with DeBrincat and Raymond. Thank you. And albeit at first because there was just this mix of like players not really knowing how to play together on offense, because obviously that trickled all the way down through all 4 lines. I just gave you the top 6 there. The offense clearly, not just the offense, but the whole team clearly responded to the message that was trying to send by Derek Lalonde. They were hustling very hard. And despite consistently getting outshot in this hockey game and getting out attempted in this hockey game, I never felt like they were on their heels. They were forechecking hard. They were hustling hard from the get-go. And eventually they began to click in the offensive zone, and they finished in all their high danger opportunities. Their finishing in this game was insane. And I attribute that to Derek Lalonde. Like, the message got through to them that this play is unacceptable, and I will change up your line mates if you're not going to play up to the caliber. And the team clearly understands what's at stake because, again, Calgary compared to Vancouver and Edmonton, it's a different tier of team, but it's a tier team that Detroit is competing with, right? Like, obviously not for a standings because they're Western Conference, but in terms of like talent, this is a team that is similar in talent to the Detroit Red Wings, and you chased Jacob Markstrom. So that's why I give credit to Derek Lalonde for, getting through to the players with the performance that they had in that game. Because I thought it was a really good hockey game by the Detroit Red Wings, despite being outshot.
Yeah, obviously completely agree. And I think, again, we'll talk about kind of the shots and the quality of shots and that type of stuff, the performance that the defense had after the break here. But I think, honestly, we've been talking a lot about how to get DeBrincat going, I guess is the word I'm going to say, like who to pair DeBrincat with to get him more even strength goals and just more goals in general, right? That's been a big talking point for a while. We obviously we've seen Kane with DeBrincat for a while, and now in this game, Raymond and Cat on the wings was pretty kind of electric, right? Like I thought that Cat played a really good game. We talked about that off air a little bit before we started recording. Raymond had a great game. Compher had a really good game. Like that line as a whole, I think was unbelievably solid. And I think, honestly, one of the biggest signs of the willingness to kind of put the blender out in between games and try and find something that's working better was that the cop line got broken up, right? Like that has honestly even maybe holds as much weight, as weird as it sounds to say, as that top 6 being broken up and kind of reshuffled, right? Because we had been singing the praises of that Rasmussen and comp line for a while. And that line got broken up. Veleno was on the wing in this game. Fischer played 4C. And I thought that, obviously 5 goals is not anything to shake your head at. So it was a really good performance. I thought a lot of people looked really good. I'm sure we'll talk about that here in a second too. So yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. And I think that the biggest reason for success is going to be that the team defense kind of nerfing high danger, which we'll talk about in a second. And then obviously Reimer, anytime you push 40 shots and get a shutout, you're going to be up there. So
yeah, absolutely. So we'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll get into those notable performances that we've kind of teased here in segment 1. So stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. Our sponsor today is Camino Consulting. How would you like to know someone better in an hour than you would in a year? Understanding one another better prevents small misunderstandings from becoming big ongoing fights. After providing more than 20 years of service to small and mid-sized businesses, helping management groups navigate conflicts and onboarding new employees, Camino is offering a digital seminar for families and couples. Did your Valentine's gift of tickets to the game not go over as well as you'd hoped? Get the couple and family online seminar for 25% off for the month of February using the discount code Locked On. Again, that is discount code Locked On for 25% off for the rest of the month at www.caminoconsulting.ca, or mention Locked On when reaching out for the business seminar and receive the first 5 profiles free. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are talking about notable performances now from the 5-0 shutout win over the Calgary Flames. Obviously, because we already profiled James Reimer because of the fact that he was your difference maker, and deservedly so. You mentioned DeBrincat too, because I do want to bring that up. We talked a little bit before we hit record, because this is one of those games where he does so much right and just still cannot be rewarded. And I think you said, I wanted to see him do a little bit less of being so close to scoring and a little bit more of actually scoring. And that's fair. But I don't know what he's got to do different, because everything I saw from him in this game, like I even saw him making defensive plays. He was part of the turnover that led to JT Compher's goal. He got the assist on that, the secondary assist. And he had a ton of shots from good areas that he just couldn't bury. I remember there was one where the net was wide open on a 4-on-4 near the end of the second period, and then it just got blocked last second. And I'm like, I don't know what DeBrincat could possibly even do differently to get rewarded with goals, because I feel like he's doing everything right, and it's just not going in.
I thought he was buzzing in this game. Again, that line as a whole, I mean, Compher had a goal. Raymond, I thought, looked stellar, right? Like that line was really firing on all cylinders. I think that's a really unique combination that I'm not even sure back over the summer that we would have, mocked a line that looked like that. And they looked really solid. And obviously, back in the summer, we didn't have Kane yet, so that kind of changes things up as well there for the top 6. But I thought that everyone on that line looked good. I thought DeBrincat looked good. And he was skating well. Like he had his opportunities. I think he had 3 or 4 shots. Like there's it's just, I'm sure it's as frustrating for him as if not much more frustrating, I guess I'll put it that way, for him than it is even for us as the viewer. I'm sure he's much more frustrated than we are that for whatever reason it's not finding the back of the net. But yeah, I have no qualms with how he played in this game, or really anybody on that line.
No, absolutely not. I thought he played well. It's just it's one of those things where you're just gonna hope he breaks through again. I know that Prashant a couple weeks ago said that he scores in bunches, but it just feels like he's due to break through any day now, and you're just waiting for that moment to happen, and it just hasn't yet. Speaking of players who have broken through, though, Patrick Kane on a heater since returning from injury. He's got 5 points in 4 games since coming back. He had the assist on Dylan Larkin's power play goal. Larkin continues to be a point per game with that goal. And then also his own power play goal from a beautiful slap shot from the point. Nice feed by Gostisbehere.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ghost had a pretty solid defensive play in this game too, for whatever that's worth. But one play, we had one good defensive play in this game that I remember.
That's all you get.
But yeah. No, I mean Larkin, obviously. I mean the Kane Larkin play is just disgusting. Like that play where Kane quick pass to Larkin right in front of the net, who just kind of, pushes it, redirects it in, was an absolute beauty. And, I'm excited if Kane and Larkin are going to be on a line together. That's going to be pretty crazy. So I'm all for that, just for like as a viewer. It's going to be very visually appealing if that sticks. So,
well, that goal, I'm glad you brought that up to highlight too, because I mean, the passing on that play was just some phenomenal
Stellar.
stuff. Now, they only have Gostisbehere. Let me see who they credited with the assist on that goal. It was Sider. Okay. I was misremembering who assisted on Patrick Kane's goal. It was more Sider who was out there.
Oh, yeah. Kane, that was the slapper.
That was right off the face off the start of the power play.
He just went to Mo and he just pushed it to him. Yeah.
But the Dylan Larkin goal was a beautiful example of how to perfectly cycle on the power play, because Patrick Kane on the blue line slid it across the Gostisbehere, who was coming from down low, cycled up top. Kane darts to the corner to replace him, and Gostisbehere gives the puck right back to him. Like that cycling, it was beautiful. Chef's kiss, rather. It was so great. Yeah, I mean, and also notable performance, Lucas Raymond. I thought when you're talking about forwards that balled out in this game, Lucas Raymond had a heck of a game. The goal, JT Compher's goal, doesn't happen without him busting butt, forcing a turnover. It got up to the wing where DeBrincat, also forced a second.
Well, that was everyone. That was just an aggressive forecheck, and it was an absolute beauty. That entire shift, really, but that whole line was just all aggressive forecheck. They got the turnover and got a relatively speaking, an easy opportunity. So that was just awesome defense leading to good offense there. Textbook example. And we've talked about the forecheck a lot, man. It's been a give and a take type of thing with the Wings this year. Like it either causes situations like that or it causes them to give burned. They've given up quite a fair share of breakaways the other way and rushes as well because of like super aggressive forechecks. So it's kind of been a give and take type of thing. But in this game, it was all give, baby.
It was all give. Well, and then again, talking about the forecheck, his goal, the fifth goal of the game against the only one that came against Dan Vladar. He won the race for the puck on a Moritz Seider dump in. He circled the zone and just shot it home. Like Lucas Raymond's buzzing right now, but that was the forecheck, like you said, and the finishing of this team was incredible. I mean, they only had 21 shots total, and they had 5 goals. Yeah. They were not missing on their premium opportunities. Kane's goal. I think Patrick Kane's goal might have been the only one that came from a low danger spot, because obviously Larkin's was high danger. Raymond's and Perron are probably medium danger from where they were taken from. Perron was just above the hash marks, I think, in the high slot. And then Raymond's was from the top of the circle, I believe, similar spot to Perron's. Compher was high danger, I would argue. It doesn't matter. I'm splitting hairs, but my point being is the finishing was incredible on 21 shots. So that was a huge notable performance, but also the special teams was just so good in this game. I mean, the power play had 2, the penalty kill, again, perfect. And the penalty kill was incredible. At one point, a 5-on-3 in the third period, and they were just getting swarmed in the offensive zone. But anytime they tried to make a pass through the slot, they would just get broken up. Yeah. The penalty kill was superb. They went 5 for 5 on the penalty kill. And the power play, 2 for 5, that's good for 40%. That's really freaking good. You can't ask for much more.
No, yeah, you can't. I don't think you actually can ask for much more from both units. We've been talking about the kill for a while, man. The PK's been phenomenal. Going on, a month and a half, almost 2 months now of just ever since they went on that heater where they went on that streak, they have maintained that caliber of kill, man. It's been a really, really, really good penalty kill for a while now. We're approaching, like I said, kind of 2 months of pretty solid play in that department. So yeah, awesome. I mean, again, 5-0. Like everything kind of went the Wings' way. It's exciting.
I mean, after that game where they went 5 for 5, their penalty kill is now ranked 7th in the league. 52 games into the season, and their power play is ranked 10th in the league. So, I mean, you talk about reasons why this team is making a push for the playoffs. And obviously we talk a lot about Lions' performance in the month of January, but the power play and penalty kill has been carrying this team as well. It's been great.
For sure.
In terms of notable performances, I mean, is there anyone else you want to give a shout out to? I thought Moritz Seider had a pretty good game. He and Wallman had a pretty good game.
Yeah.
A couple nice plays.
I didn't think Rasmussen looked out of place up there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. I think they got to run it back again. Obviously, a big win, 5-0 win. I want to see how those lines can build more chemistry against Seattle.
Yeah, I don't think it's a long-term stick, but I don't mind running it for now.
Yeah. I mean, the question becomes, like, do they go back to Lyon? They got to go back to Lyon, right?
Yeah.
It's a great performance, but Reimer, though.
Yes, but they go back to line.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to ask the question. Gauge the
my
temperature.
answer. Yeah, I thought Veleno on the wing was good.
Yeah, I mean, he hustles,
third line
man.
third line wing. He looked really good, I thought, for sure. Christian Fischer as 4C. Thought he looked fine there. Like, I'm pretty much just naming the lineup. Like, again, we won 5-0. Like, I'm pretty much just naming like everybody that played. Like, yeah, everybody.
Daniel Sprong on the wing on the fourth line.
Everybody looked pretty good, man. I guess it's kind of stupid for me to just go through and 5-0 win. Not too many people looked out of place. So, yeah, I just thought it was a really good game. Like we talked about earlier, the defense was. There's been a few games like this year where they have. Been like, okay, you can take all the low danger you want, but we're going to prevent the high danger. And they did that in this game. And that's really been the story of their season. We talked about it with the crossover with Grindline and Daniela and whatnot, right? Like, we talked about it with them. They give up a lot of shots, but not a lot of low danger shots. And as a goalie, if you can just stop the low danger, you're going to put the Wings in a position to be competitive more nights than not. And that's pretty much textbook what happened in this one.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're spot on. They gave up 85 shot attempts in all situations. The Red Wings faced 85 shot attempts. James Reimer only faced 5 high danger shots.
Yeah.
Like, that is crazy. Of 85 shot attempts, only 5 hit the net in high danger areas. Like, that just screams. And, some of this might be embellished. Obviously, a lot of this is done through, like, but it's a home game for Calgary. Like, if anything, they'd pump those numbers up, you would think. So I don't know how accurate that is, but if that is accurate, that is insanely good job by the defense to push all those. And you could see it watching the game. Like, they were shooting from all over the ice, except for really inside the slot. And the few times they really did have those inside the slot shots, James Reimer came up huge. He was fantastic.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, credit to the defense for, you're not going to possess the puck a lot, but you're not going to give up a lot of high danger shots. So, I mean, that's what we talk about. Like you said, we talked about it with Grindline. Lalonde's talked about it. That's kind of the design of this team is you give up a lot of shot attempts, but you give up a lot of shot attempts from the blue line and along the boards, really. So
absolutely. Yeah. And that's what they did. They pushed everything to the outside.
Yep. We'll go into segment 3 and we'll clean up anything left, playoff picture stuff, talk about a squid that was thrown on the ice, an octopi, real briefly, and then we'll preview the game against the Seattle Kraken. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. It is past the halfway point of the NHL season, and the Red Wings are clinging on to the second wildcard spot. But regardless of where they are in the standings, I want to remind you that you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is the #1 choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick whether studs like Jake Wallman, Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, Patrick Kane will record more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more in a given game. To win 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Red Wings fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention, and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are going to I don't think there's much else to talk about with this game specifically. Like, I kind of spoiled it at the end of segment 2. It's like, an octopus was thrown on the ice at the end of the game. That was cool to see. An away game and an octopi on the ice. You love to see that.
Baby. Hockey Town travels like no other, man.
But outside of that, I mean, playoff implications, we talk about it. You cannot let these losses turn into a spiral, because while you had a little bit of padding going into the All-Star break, 2 losses in a row will eradicate that padding, and it did.
Sure.
Going into the night, they only had a 2-point lead on that second wildcard spot with the Devils hot on their heels, and it's a good thing they won that game, because the Devils also won their outdoor game, their Stadium Series game, pretty decisively too. Mm-hmm. So it's a big deal that they won that game, as the Devils did. The Lightning got crushed by the Panthers. absolutely crushed by the Panthers. So they fall into the first wild card spot. You're just, I think, 3 points behind them right now in the standings.
Tampa 65, Detroit 62, New Jersey 60, and the Islanders and Caps are 57 and 56. Yeah. So you're really focusing on obviously the Lightning. You're obviously still focusing on the Leafs. You're now up to 66 and in that in the top 3.
The Leafs crushed the Ducks, by the way. It was just
Austin Matthews has 2 or something. Yeah,
Matthews has hat tricks in back-to-back games. He's on pace for like 70 goals.
Yeah, he's okay. He's not bad.
American. He's American. Every time we talk Austin Matthews, I want to remind all our Canadian listeners that the best goal scorer in the NHL currently is an American hockey player.
Good for you, man.
That's important to me.
Clearly. But yeah, no, I obviously you have your sights on New Jersey and Tampa and still, like I said, Toronto. But we're really 2 points separating you and New Jersey. You have a 5-point cushion on the Islanders, who are the team right behind the Devils. So
yeah, and the Islanders play Sunday. So by the time people are listening to this, we'll know if they are up to 59 points or sticking there at 57.
True. Yeah, we're recording this before that.
Yeah, and I think the Penguins play today too, or Sunday as we record this. They also play. They play the Kings at home. Pittsburgh is at home against the Kings.
Big game.
So, big game for them too, who are also trailing you. But yeah, big win, and that means that the win against a game against Seattle is going to be even bigger. I keep saying my expectations for this road trip was going 2-2, and you've already dropped 2. You got the 1 win against Calgary. You're 2-2 on the month of February right now. I think Seattle, I hate to use the term must win for every single game, but when you're a team that's trying to break your playoff drought and you're clinging onto a wild card spot, every game is honestly a must win hockey game. So finishing the Western Canada road trip on the right foot and splitting it 2-2 when the back half of the month gets significantly easier is a big deal. And I think that this is a big win for a big game for the Detroit Red Wings. And Seattle, despite being 5th in the Pacific Division, they're no slouch either. They're a pretty decent hockey team, much like the
playoffs,
much like the Flames
year.
were.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good hockey team, man. This is, again, we kind of talked about it before the Calgary game, but this is this 2-game stretch here against Calgary and Seattle is, there's going to be a misconception out there that, you got through the first 2 really, really tough games and then it's kind of easy going. And that's not the case. There's, like we said yesterday or Friday, whatever, there's a difference between worse than Vancouver and Edmonton and bad. Like there's a huge, huge difference between those 2 things. And Seattle's a pretty good hockey team. And this is not going to be a gimme, especially on the road, a last game of a West Coast road trip here. So that'll be kind of nice. Hopefully get out with a win and on a 2-game heater. Come home. You can go with Lyon, I'm assuming. So that will be good as well. Go back to the well with your starting goalie is never going to be a bad thing either. So, man, this is a team, they've kind of struggled offensively, but really, really good defense and goaltending from Seattle this year. And that's kind of been how they have kept their head slightly above water and kept themselves somewhat in the mix here this late in the season.
Yeah, they're a top 10 team in Corsi 4 and in expected goals for percentage. So they get a lot of high danger. They get some high danger chances as well. It's, you're just going to have to do what you keep doing, right? There's nothing really new to break down about this game. The biggest drawback of the Seattle Kraken, right, is their special teams is pretty garbage. They're not very good on special teams. And the Detroit Red Wings are. So if you're going to beat this team, it's going to probably be in that category. Their penalty kill or power play on the season is ranked, where'd I see it at? It's 16th, so it's smack dab right in the middle for their power play. And their penalty kill is
21st.
So, you're significantly better than them in those categories. So if you can get on the power play and stay out of the box, you're gonna beat this team. Because we all know that the Detroit Red Wings probably aren't going to outplay a team at 5-on-5. Red Wings are looking to finish on the opportunities that they get, and they don't get because they just don't shoot the puck a ton. They just don't, And the teams that they play usually do a lot more than the Detroit Red Wings. It's not that big of a analysis there. So to beat the Kraken, you're just going to have to rely on your special teams, rely on your goaltending, and I don't know, do your best to try and possess the puck a little bit more. That'd be nice, but I'm not betting on it. That's like, it's not really the Red Wings play style.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of the interesting part of this game is the Red Wings are 6th in the league in just goal scoring a game, right? It's one of the better offenses in the NHL, and you're going up against the Kraken, who give up the 6th fewest amount of goals per game. They have I've gotten really good goaltending. I've gotten pretty solid defense this year. But the Wings defense, as you just mentioned, gives up shots, tries to nerf the high danger, but gives up shot attempts. And this Kraken offense is in the bottom 4 or 5 in the entire NHL in goal scoring this year. So you have both of the team's strengths are lining up against each other, and both of the team's weaknesses are lining up against each other. So it's going to come down to which of the team's weaknesses, I guess, is going to be better on Monday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that their high danger chances for is ranked 17th in the league, where the Red Wings, very notably, we've mentioned it several times, are really good at limiting those. So that's going to play well to the Red Wings, but they're also they give up the 7th fewest high danger chances themselves, which is something the Red Wings like to do, is get the high danger chances. So like you said, just another thing, just adding to the strengths and weaknesses, kind of playing into one another for this hockey team. So it'll be a fun game, 3:30 game, and we'll recap it for you guys then. I wonder if we're going to get Joey Dackert in that, because he's one of the league's best goaltenders this year, like 925 save percentage. He's been electric, but we'll see. Any final thoughts?
We ball, baby.
We ball. Be back with a new episode tomorrow, recapping the Seattle Kraken game. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.